What's up, everybody? We live with it, baby. Yeah, what's good? Yo, man, I'm really excited. Thanks for being here with me. It's your boy Tony V. Everything is coming together, y'all. Everything is coming together. I'm talking about we got Ben over analog over there doing some amazing work. He's down in Texas, dropped a major drop this morning. The preview was good enough in itself. You know, me being a Texan and all, we take pride in that. You dig? Yeah, yeah. But yeah, everything's coming together where it comes from Ben, it comes from analog, it comes from Dr. Narco over there talking about the Fertile Crescent. Just in this last episode, if you watched on part 2, we're right now translating or reading the translation of the Scribe of Tlana, right? And the commentary right after the initial part of the actual translation, he's sitting here saying, man, yo, it's the Gulf of Mexico, y'all. Yeah, it's the Gulf of Mexico, the Fertile Crescent, the fertility. These are all hints. These are all, this is within the the Hermetic Brotherhood of Atlantis. So the way I even came about finding this book in the first place was I was researching the Rosicrucians, R.S. Clymer. And as I'm researching him, he hints to a person, Falon, W.P. I'm like, okay, well, let's go check out that. So then we come across and check out him, and we come across our story of Atlantis, which was written for the Hermetic Brotherhood of Atlantis itself. Now, as we're going through this, we're seeing the story and how crazy it already is. But the aspect that now we're going through this translation, a first-hand account of Atlantis, describing the railways that were ironworks, right? Describing how the Magi knew how they worked as far as their own self-movement. But even the people didn't understand how it worked. How the Magi could see into the future, how they had thought force, how they were using etheric energies, how they described their buildings being of domes with pinnacles. We just read this in part 2, y'all. So we have this firsthand description from this translation on the Scribe of Tlana. And we're going to continue going through it. I'm so happy to see this, man. Like, this is pretty cool that I was able to find this because nobody's talking about it. You have, apparently the scribes of thought, the emerald tablets and all that. But to see a scribe that is on papyrus, that has a translation that nobody's really spoken about, is a trip to me. Like, how we have a real description right here of a translation and nobody's speaking about it. Like, what the hell going on? You dig? So I want to come over here and just read some more. I think we in chapter 8 now, right? So we're gonna come over here in chapter 8. Let me see if I gotta add this to the stream. Okay, boom. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So we on chapter 8. All right. So being on chapter 8, let's go through this bad boy. So it says, well, let me see if I can. Sorry, y'all. I'm not perfect on this bad boy, but we're gonna see how this works. Okay. To do it like that. Yeah, I think it works like that. Okay. All right, so it says, the Atlanteans of either sex are almost perfect in their physical organizations. They are nearly all equally trained by the master of wisdom. It may be asked why they are not all on the same plane of development. The reply is the conclusive answer of all ages and times. Man never has and never will exercise his individual potency in exactly the same way. The little variation, hardly perceptible at first, is increased by every increment, no matter how small, of each of succeeding lives. We're talking about reincarnation, y'all. We lost the understanding of reincarnation. We just thinking, oh, if we're good here on earth, we may go to heaven, we may go to heaven. You lost all power of understanding who you are in the first place. That's what they boiled down to your ass so they can keep you under control, man. The religion did that to y'all. This difference is increased also by the force of intellectual power, which comes to a nation and of necessity to the individuals of the nation, who will seek to occupy the best bodies and positions as the returning egos claim place in the lives. Now, right now, it's getting back into the quote of the scribe itself. So now we're going back into the scribe, the translation of Tlana, her words. I mean, I'm assuming Tlana is a female, but you never know. Because of the absolute equality of the sexes, the bodies of the women are just as strong and vigorous as those of the men. But we know that in other nations with which we have come in contact, in other parts of the world, the women are inferior in size and strength. This happens because the people of those nations have allowed themselves from generation to generation and from age to age to believe in and assert the inferiority of women. This continued thought has belittled and dwarfed her, not only in body, but has also bound her aspirations and her mental capacity with bonds stronger than steel. While the barbarian races, to their sorrow and loss, have made this sad mistake, the Atlantean nation, on the other hand, have constantly held the equality of the sexes. The result now is physically both sexes are models, which painter and sculptor are proud and eager to copy. Each one is a specimen of beauty, for perfection is beauty. Ooh, watch out. The action of the climate and transmitted principles have brought intellectual vigor and daring with a marvelous grasp of perception upon the laws of nature and of themselves. Their bodies, instead of being impediments to spiritual growth and advancement, are helps indeed to the spirits who seek through them experience, knowledge, and understanding. Those who might be called the common class, doing the necessary labor of the nation, are far advanced beyond the literacy class of the barbarian nations in the perception of the truth and their knowledge of nature's laws. Hey, watch out now. The day will come in the future when men will mourn this knowledge forgotten. That's today, y'all. But we bringing it back when the fatigue and monotony of burden bearing will be almost overwhelming in its crushing awfulness. That's today, where you work so hard that you barely see any profits. The inflation, how they dwindled down the dollar. Your energy, they have put a price on your energy and dwindled it so far down that you are not seeing the fruition of what you should be seeing in the first place. Sorry, excuse me, let me keep going. We have schools for the development of the physical and for the directing of the mental habits of thought. In these schools, very little memorized knowledge is imparted. Now, ain't that important? Little memorized knowledge is imparted. Why? Because it's about developing, at least to them, it was about developing more of the spirit rather than understanding everything that is just matter. The design is to so train the faculties that, if desired or needed, the cipher of the astral records could easily be read. What is that? That's the Akashic records. That's the astral, bro. That's the record that's always kept beyond, in the invisible, beyond the visible. Quote, sickness is unknown. We have no lame, halt, blind, deaf, nor dumb, nor beggars as models for maternal prenatal mind to misform embryos, and thus build monstrosities for the public charge. This of which I speak is true of the nations who are busy in the affairs of commerce, of agriculture, or who are builders and decorators of houses and public buildings. But there are some who, from natural impulsion, have sought more and more of the invisible, of the truths which belong to the one and those whom rest in it, who know that they are a part, that the I am is a part of you just as much as it is a part of me. I am you and you are we, and we is us, a part of the great I am. Yo, let me check the chat real quick. What's up, Bird Dog? What's up, Disciple of the Messiah? What's up, y'all? Just wanted to shout y'all out. I see y'all in the chat. Thanks for being here, man. These are willing and anxious to devote themselves and their powers constantly to obtaining and attaining and the teaching of youth. The only class distinction we have is founded upon knowledge. Now, understand what I'm reading right here is a scribe of Tlana, Tlana. Okay, this is an Atlantean. This is on papyrus. Okay, this was obtained by W.P. Falone. Okay, this is on some higher knowledge, man. So, and it was only wrote for them. This was for their society. It wasn't supposed to be getting out into the public like that. But here we are, 2023. The internet has allowed the secrets to be revealed. It has come to pass in a natural fashion that these thinkers have gravitated toward one another. that they have kept records of observation, experiment, and experience, that they are wiser in speech and mathematics as applied to the unseen, in alchemy and astronomy or astrology, and they are especially wise in the physics which embrace the laws of the unseen. Do you understand that? So their understanding of the unseen was more in alignment and structured in their knowing and not should I say understanding, but understanding, overstanding of what was taking place. Why is that? Because they were more intact with nature, yo. Like, I'm sorry, like I speak as one with authority and knowing because I have the experience to speak on the things in which I do. Like, let's say, for instance, like DMT, for instance, right? Like, once you understand and go through that experience, you understand you understand that there are dimensions and there are beings at all times. And it's weird because everybody experiences the same things while on this substance. It's yo man, it is what it is. We'll continue. At first, buildings were set apart for these students and their teachers. As the city grew, each body of students had its building, now known as temples. Okay, what were they called? The mystery schools, right? All these churches. What were they before churches? They were mystery schools, y'all. They weren't built as that initially. That's taught early. I mean, I learned that when I first started on the esoteric knowledge. So it says where we at. Later, all were gathered into one great temple in order that the symbolism of the one who is all might be perfect. In the teachings of our Magi, all manifestation on all planes of existence, the as aboves and so below, is referred back to the one. All of it equals one. Okay, it all comes into one as the single central source of strength and power for everything obtained and obtainable. Thus, the mind dwelling on this thought has striven in design, in material, in finishing and furnishing to make the great temple a perfected symbol of the one. Its worship in all its imagery and suggestion combines every element for the impressiveness of mode and subject under discussion upon the minds of the student. It is it is it any wonder that there has come to us as a nation a deep-seated veneration for the omnipotent name and laws? It is also a fact that our magi are in possession of most wonderful powers in the control of elemental forces who obey their will, coming to their tasks not under confinement, but because obedient to the will and behest of those who call singly or unitedly for their services. Now, y'all know about the chi energy. I've broken some of y'all down if y'all stayed with me. If you follow any, 432 the drop, on Instagram, you know, there are people out there, Grandmaster Wolf, I've spoken about him. Chi energy and manifesting that, harnessing that is it's out there. You can see how we are manipulating the reality in front of us, this matrix, this realm at all times. I mean, you got people setting things on fire with their hands, bro. You see what's going on with the cloud bursting, all these people tapping into the powers that they have, learning and manifesting these powers. If you don't understand the energies and the manifestations, just on that smaller aspect of where we are now and understanding it, they had it even more back then. Okay. It is also known that this power never will be held except by Atlantean born people, regardless of the changing conditions of the realm. It is also true that a far greater proportion of our people have attained to the superior light and knowledge than any other nation upon the earth, either in the past or present. This is doubtless due to the fact that our incarnating egos, having the right of choice, have again and again sought their own people as the most privileged spot in which to make advancement during their lives or during the lives. When these advanced egos have found their bodies, we have the spectacle of children born old. For the brightness of the last life is heavy on them, and the newness of the body does not always act as a defense or shield from its imperious blaze. It is not in each, but is a matter of ordinary, detailed development. So let's keep going, because I ain't even read all this. We reading this for the first time together, y'all. No doubt. I haven't gotten this far. So we on, what is this? 9. We have but one basic law throughout called the Golden Rule, or preference, the whole country and city. It is of another before self. We have no evils arising out of the action of selfishness, for this condition is the primary result of the fear of destitution, either for ourselves or others, sometime during the position or period of earth life. Even they who are the least advanced understood or understand from our teaching the true idea of brotherhood, that no man, no man's wives, no man's children can, under the law, suffer from deprivation of the necessities of physical life. Now, I'm gonna pause there. If we had that understanding today, do you think we would have the homeless? Do you think we would have superiority of where someone has all the riches in the world while all the rest suffer, wondering how they're going to get their next meal? That's why I have problems with capitalism. And everybody says, "Oh, but it's always about fighting against the other, right? It's always a battle. It's always a struggle. I'm going to underbid the next person. I'm in a competition with the next person. It's not about that unity of bringing forth everybody into an uplifted state. That's the problem I see with capitalism. Now it says, he who has more than enough is held to be always the steward in trust for him who temporarily has less than enough. But this does not relieve from the necessity for labor of every individual in the direct ratio of their ability at whatever employment they are best fitted. In the building of our houses, the quartering of the stones, the transportation, and the fitting is all done by elemental force. Whoa, 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 whoa. Back up, back up, back up. So we ain't talking about slaves. We ain't talking about chisels and hammers. We ain't talking about giants picking up stones. We ain't talking about big lizard animals or mastodons or elephants or any of that. We ain't talking about any of that in this scribe. At least this is the scribe of Tlana from the Hermetic Brotherhood of Atlantis. At least what they say. So, you can only hold it with so much weight, right? But let's say that we're going with it, right? These secret societies. We'll read and go over it again. In the building of our houses, the quartering of our stones, the transportation, and the fitting is all done by elemental force. Elemental force, y'all. Under the direction of a master, of someone who has been trained, of someone who knows how to work the reality, who is in charge of a section. It is his duty to educate them and to see that they are duly provided for out of the astral storehouses by the power given into his hands. Now, I remember, what this brings me flashbacks to is some of the magic spoken of in relation to, I think, maybe even King David or Solomon, to where he would call upon the elemental forces, which would be called, of course, demons, to work this. He would conjure up these sayings to bring about these demons. I think it's in demonology by King James, the one who put out the Bible too, about how he would conjure up, use the talismans, the symbols, conjure up the demons, and then they would create the building itself. So these flashbacks or correspondences in relation to pretty much the same scenario of events, just not so detailed in the same regard. I don't know, they match up, they tie up. So the form of government has already been copied from us by a powerful nation in the northern parts of Asia. But now, which Asia we talking about? We talking about Asia, America? We talking about Asia over there? We got maps showing that America is Asia, y'all. But because of their situation on the physical plane, it is most likely they will be able to retain only the form and will lose the spiritual power, which is the foundation of potent principle. The whole nation is linked together by the master of the families. These are in groups and classes, castes, under instruction and direction from those who are most competent to teach, royalty. These teachers are grouped under the masters or magi of the temple. These magi of the temple are under the instruction of the most ancient, the 7, the 5, and the 3. The 3, the 5, and the 7, y'all. Now, I'm not all the way there with that, the 3, the 5, and the 7. What does that relate to? What is this? Is this in relation to What is this? I haven't gone through that 3, the 5, and the 7 yet. I know I've seen it. I know it relates somewhere, but I'm not all the way there to go through it there. So I'm going to need some help with that somewhere. We're going to have to find it. So in the hands of the 3, mightiest of all human intellects, well, they breaking it down right here for us then. Let's go. Rest the destinies, the prosperity, and the happiness of the whole nation. Moreover, upon them as directors and arbitrators, or arbiters, the responsibility of karmic conditions rested, as they were engendered by the currents of potency issuing from themselves and returning upon the cycle bore with them whatever had been impressed upon or mingled with them during their revolvement among those to whom the currents were sent. It must be apparent to whom this manuscript may come that the power of the unseen and their application to man's earth life are matters of the greatest interest and importance to the Atlanteans. There is no temporal power save as a symbol of the manifested. Everything pertaining to organized effort originates with and is carried forward by the priesthood of the great temple, which represents the dominant power over matter of the spirit at its highest and best. They have specially in charge the study and development of all occult knowledge. Every house is independent of itself. Every house is independent of itself. You and your tribe, you and your lineage. The Atlanteans are monogamists, the one husband of one wife. This experience has demonstrated to be the best condition for the development of a strong spiritual race. We have seen that polygamous races always decrease in power, strength, and energy of purpose. In Atlantis, to be diseased or crippled in body or to be at the head of a family in which is such a member is deemed a crime against the people. Therefore, all thought, all desire, and interest are brought to bear upon physical conditions through occult and spiritual forces, not only to make the nation whole, but whole in the highest and best sense, those who are particularly gifted with physical qualities, or whose spirits have attained familiarity with the instrument instructed to their hands are trained for the offices of masters or guides. Now, the only problem I have with this is this makes me think of how strong, what is the term that I'm looking for here? Eugenics was at this time. And is this translation a real translation due to that quote, or was that an injection into this translation? I don't know. But eugenics was a really big thing at this time. In this, believing this was around early 1900s, I think 1903, if I'm not mistaken. These may or may not have families, but in either case, they are persons to whom a certain number of persons or families look for counsel, advice, and guidance. For thousands of years have the magi of the temple, who give their whole time to the study of the unseen and lay aside their bodies at their own volition, really place the welfare and best good of the people beyond any other consideration whatever. Now, when I think about this as well, it makes me think, how deep were they going in? What substances were they using from the earth to be able to tap into the astral and allow the vibrational states of their physical being to be elevated to tap into the unseen and be able to unsee or see? Because that's really what it boils down to, is like being able to have that vibratory state raised up into a new frequency of awareness. The nation is happy. They have no poor. They have no inferior class. All necessary labor is honorable, right? So even though they have everybody is set, the honor is the honor is obtained and wanted by the necessary labor that is needed. That is a true community, y'all. That is a true understanding of unity, of community, of family. Everybody has its own part. It's not about one is better than the other, right? Everybody has their talents and skills that can come together. I've mentioned on this, a mastermind. A lot of people think that a mastermind is one individual that knows it all, bro. A lot of people think that a mastermind is an individual, one person who knows it all. That is not the truth, y'all. That is not the truth whatsoever. A mastermind is a collective group of individuals that come together to make one mind. That's what a mastermind is. Okay, so Generation after generation, we have been growing stronger and more like the gods come down to earth. We have perfect communication with the outside world and each other. We know Atlantis is the fairest city on this planet, and we are content. So now we into 10. We're gonna keep going. Yo, I love this. I've never read this one before, so I'm just like, it's cool. It's really cool. And supposedly it's a translation of a Scribe of Tlana. Yo, thanks for being here, everybody. I don't know who's on here. I don't know how many's viewing. We got 7 with us, so that's cool. What's up, y'all? What's going on? Yeah, Bird Dog, Damon, Monday, Magi is the war. Imagine for a reason. You guys are inspiring so many downloads right now. Peace and harmony. Yo, everybody is on point. Everybody is bringing it together. I got to thank, Kuramayo and Khan dropped 432 to drop, because they was the inspiration. I had just started. I've always been researching, but when I really got deep into it, I've been going at it now 10, 12, 13 years, but the inspiration really comes from my boys Mayo and 432 to drop. But it's like everybody's coming together right now with amazing drop to show that the old true world is America. Atlantis is America. We've already gotten the drop coming from the Hermetic Brotherhood right here. I don't. Was it part 1? Were they talking about, we talking about the Gulf of Mexico, bro, the Amazon, like all that. They know. They telling you. This was wrote for them. And it was not supposed to be brought to the public, y'all. This is what's been held for so long. Okay, so let's keep going. Having thus far advanced in the description of the most wonderful city ever known to man, permit me to quote from the words of one who saw what he so fluently and graphically describes for you. Quote, to the northeast of this island continent is located the Great Temple, built both for use and symbolism, on a plateau of many acres in extent, where the gradually rising ground began to break into the foothills. The whole surface had been leveled and paved with some soft material, of which the Atlanteans alone knew the secret. This hardened under the action of the sun and atmosphere until it was like adamant. To the east, a belt of country reached to the seacoast, but not on a level with it. Had also been smoothed and paved, so that there was no obstruction to the eye until it rested on a far-off horizon. Upon this broad expanse of level space, close enough to the mountains to be buttressed by their mighty arms, stood the great white-walled temple, facing the south, and the ample acres for assemblage. The closed courts and offices and the cloisters of the temple faced the mountains of the north, and thus secured for the temple dwellers the privacy needed for the masters and student brotherhoods of the temple, who were seeking to know out of the silence. The temple proper consists of 2 stories, the first one consisting of pillars springing from the rocky fountains of the mountain and supporting the arches, which in turn held up immense slabs of stones, the floors of the second story. On the first floor, there is little or no enclosure, but within the walls of the second story, it is all arranged for privacy and quiet thought. He who looks over the battlements of the upper story looks down about 90 feet into the beautifully paved court below. On the east and west of the temple itself are gardens, groves of trees, fountains, running streams of water, domesticated animals, and flowers of every hue and fragrance. These are sacred to the temple. Now, just imagine living in this, bro. Just imagine, think about getting rid of all of these daily worries of everything that boils you down with the material things, and just living free and true, like the hospitable climate with the food and everything that you need to be able to really speak about the things that you are learning and developing. I mean, it's cool and all to be, man, man, I don't know. I put myself fleeting glimpses is what they say. Yeah, man. I don't know. In the northeast section of the temple building was the great tower, an observatory 50 feet in diameter, rising 210 feet. It's always 210. And what was the other one? 50 feet in diameter. But 210 was something else either, which is, numerology comes out to 3. A landmark and light extending hundreds of miles, and ever a joy inspirer for the sea-tossed mariners of the state. Looking from the plaza in front toward the interior of the temple, its vast recess, its forest of white pillars, and its high lifted overarching roof fills the spectator with awe, nor was this feeling lessened by the cleanliness, the continuous shifting of huge masses of sunlight and shadow, ever into new and indescribable, grotesque. During the services, the awful solemnity evoked was of character that modified the whole Atlantean thought and national purpose. The great tower was commenced 15 feet below the surface. Hmm. The original trap rock was supplemented by a square block of concrete rock, and upon this was carried up the superstructure to a total height of 225 feet. 9 in numerology, yeah. The square of 15, 15, 6. Upon the floor of the temple, resting on a raised dais, was a secret chamber of the Holy of Holies. Now we got a reference to the Holies of Holies. Across and through this, at high festivals blazed and flashed the veil of Isis. Above, on a level with the upper floor, was the chamber of the 45, 9. And still above that, the chambers of the 15, 7, the 7, 5, and the 3. In the outer, the tower was smooth and unpenetrated on its surface from bottom to top. It resembled a solid block, chiseled out of the quarries and set on end. So deft was the workmanship and so perfect the jointings and finish. In the cloisters and rooms of the second story of the temple were the apartments for the private study and class instruction. There were also supplemental apartments hollowed out of the neighboring mountains and reached by secret passages so arranged that whatever should be deposited in them as treasuries would be securely held, even if buried beneath the surface of the sea for ages. Beyond the great plaza toward the city, the trees and fountains shaded and beautified, clear up to the naked edge of the vast pavement. This is a faint portrayal of that which was really the culmination and concentration of the nation's thousands of years of existence and unfolding. And when I mean thousands, and when they say thousands, they talking about like tens of thousands, bro. They ain't talking about like 1, 2, 3, 4. They talking about like tens of thousands of years. In all our temples and more, especially in the great temple, the outer courts were but the simple separation from those who have no inspiration for the inner and higher. In the outermost court or court of the people were always gathered those who had thoughts of their own and who were undecided as to what direction they should take in pursuit of the light slowly dawning upon them. The inner court of the people contained those who have so far perceived that they are willing to obligate themselves to carry out certain purposes of whose full intent they can know but little, except that the farther end is lost in the light of life and the hollow halo of obligation. In this court, they who seek must be fitted by training and preparation for that which lies before them. So it is natural that they who linger there, striving to advance, must do whatever they can through their own power of assimilation by themselves. At the first, if the lesson is concentration, it is their individual concentration. If the lesson is passivity, it is their own individual passivity. It is exactly as, here we go again with that free will though, right? Free will choice. It is exactly as when one is learning to sing. As a beginning, the voice is trained to use its own peculiar function alone. After this solitary practice, when some aptitude has been attained and a faculty of use, then they are ready for the massing of singles for a united force. It must follow then that the outer court of the brotherhood cannot but lap over into the inner court of the temple. That which is done singly and alone is absolutely necessary for the next step in advance, which is to be made in unison with another or others, in the same way as musical students are trained by twos or fours for united efforts of action and harmony. The question considered in all this is, how shall growth and attainment be best accomplished? What is the basic principle? In music, we say the sounds are set to a certain key, and however prolonged the action of the vibrations in the key and time will be the same, and all the vibrations are thus aligned. It is exactly thus. When the students come to act together on the occult planes, the vibrations which they produce will not, of course, be alike, but they must chord the parts of one vibration, fitting and filling in the vibrations of another so that there shall be no jangle. To get the best results, is always best that they who are in the outer court of the brotherhood should be watchful and careful lest the vibrations sent forth from themselves should be hastened or intensified or even dragged through the thoughtfulness of their own carelessness. Once unity of action is attempted in this matter, it is absolutely necessary to success that the key on which they start should remain the same. It is easy to see how intense passions, such as anger, or any of the disturbing conditions would interfere with the vibration. It would be like a chord out of the tune in a stringed instrument, where, though the strings do not give out the same sound, still they must be in alignment. This alignment is the source of all music. It is not needful that the most intense feelings of one nature should be given rein and allowed to make disturbance both for himself and those whom he is contracting. It is also on the small scale, like the sharpening and flattening at the wrong points, whereby the vibrations are changed, the harmony broken in discord becomes perceptible. It is also absolutely necessary that all conditions in the outer which can cause a disturbance should be held in abeyance when one desires to concentrate, in order that during a united effort for concentration, the harmony and strength shall not be marred. This is true of all work in any occult line. It is not to be supposed when two or more of the brothers are concentrating exactly the same process is gone through within the mind of each. That would be impossible. The so see like this. I'm gonna just keep going though. I'm gonna just keep reading. That would be impossible. The end sought for can be attained by each working in his own way with the same thought. It does not follow because A does not perform his task exactly as B does, that B should be set up disturbance in the vibration as reflected from A, thus in a measure destroying the cooperation and effect to be produced. The law of the temple then is first alone, second in company with those who are seeking by united force to accomplish as the masters of destiny at all times have been able to accomplish. Unity of action is most important. That's why they keep us in disharmony, bro. That's why they keep us fighting in conflict on a multitude of levels. Excuse me, I'll get back. Unity of action is most important. Therefore, we must guard against anything that can disturb this unity together, y'all. If vibrations in their normal conditions lay along side by side, and one is hastened, then the harmony is destroyed, and the action of the impulse is to increase the vibrations in the length of their wave force. We must, when meeting for united effort, insist that each for ourselves shall become their own guardians, knowing that disagreeable things will occur. We must ever be prepared at once to put them aside. Having done this once, we shall be stronger to continue. Thus, the music from our soul's action will not only affect ourselves, but those about us. Upon this statement of principles have been built the great law of the temple. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. All the teachings and trainings, all the ceremonies and symbolism of the temple are found upon this law as the cornerstone of the religion of our people. Having given this brief summary of the truths our priesthood have in charge, let us pass on to the description of some of those ceremonies of the temple service, and as an illustration, we will take the great feast of the new year as more fully including the whole than any other. The feast of the new year on the 21st of March consummated and commemorated the sun's rebirth, when out of the equal. Now you see that? What did you hear there? Why are we doing this on the 31st of December? The feast of the new year on the 21st of March, y'all. And the consummated and commemorated the sun's rebirth, when out of the equal days and the nights of the new spring and summer began for the northern hemisphere, and the promise of the seed time and harvest was renewed. We're out of alignment. We're not in harmony. We're not in sync. This is what he's talking about. At this celebration, it should be expected that every family in the kingdom should be present, either personally or represented by some member of the family. All the going and coming of the year is planned with this in view. It is considered a privilege for all the outlying population to be made welcome in the capital at this time. The feast lasts 7 days. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Let me see how many. Well, we've been in here 40 minutes. All right. I'm just going to keep going. I love this, man. This is good stuff. Let me attempt to describe that length, for no pen can truly portray all the wonders of that marvelous assemblage, one of the last feasts which took place 10 years before the destruction of the city. The government and people were at that time in their most perfect unity. Now, when it comes to our beautiful ancestors, let me see. I'll just do it like that. When it comes to our beautiful ancestors, man, they had a celebration, right? This festival that they celebrated, and everybody prepared for this festival. It was a huge event, y'all. And that's how, they're trying to say, like, put yourself there and understanding how amazing this really was. So it says, and they did it for a full week. Okay. So about 3 days before the set date of the feast, there could be noticed a little stir in the preparation all over the country. It was a quiet movement toward participation. If one had been lifted above, so he could have looked upon the continent as upon a map, there would have been perceived during these 3 days long lines of travelers, some on foot and others by every method of conveyance, moving upon the city in converging lines. As the time grew shorter, the extent of these lines grew shorter, and the ways close to the city and in the city itself were filled to overflowing. There were but few people in the outlying country who had not some friend or relative in the city proper. When the houses were filled, tents were spread in the gardens and in all the parks and places of assembly. Thus there was a new appearance given to the light by its reflection from the tents, which were some of linen and some of cotton, but of bleached, very white by a process known only to the Atlanteans and never imparted to any other nationality. Only on the great plateau of the temple and the areas of the outer courts, no tents were allowed, for that space was necessarily kept clear, that there might be room for the greater assembly. As the ceremonies were in commemoration of the newborn son, the hours of assembly were morning and evening, and at the moment of the meridian height, on the first day of the feast, as the dawn brightened in the east, out of the early twilight, there could be heard throughout the whole city a muffled sound like the purring of a swift torrent through a smooth bed, and as soon as it was light enough to see, all the outer courts and the great plateau of the temple could be perceived crowded with those who had arrived to take part in the inauguration ceremonies. Their faces were turned toward the east, between whose far horizon and the eyes of the numberless watchers no obstruction intervened. When the moment approaches for the appearance of the ruler of the day, a low, sweet harmony, sounding in rhythmic change, welled out upon the air in slow, restful time of far-reaching tones from the great temple choir, who were gathered in one of the porches of the temple, so raised as to be seen by all vast multitude, as the sounds of the chant, gradually swelled by the voices of the worshippers, became more intense in power and heavier in volume. All the vast multitude seemed to sway under the psychic spell of this invocation to the sun, this symbol of welcome to one who returns to his work and purpose. The minutes move quickly on. The invocation is finished. A blast of trumpets accompanying the final note. The orb of day, with tropical suddenness, springs from his bed beneath the sea. As his first beams fall upon the countless multitude, they drop upon their knees. With bowed heads and silent adoration, they ascribe all glory, all power, all praise to that which stands to them as the manifested source of life, of health, of strength, the ever sleepless eye of the one. Ooh, man, a symbol of the great man. Then they separate. The hours are spent in social converse, or the abandonment of rest and quiet until it is high noon. As the sun approaches the meridian, all the streets and byways, all the house steps, and all the places where there may be a worshiper beheld his face turns towards the temple. At the moment of meridian altitude, above the highest pinnacle, a crystal ball, almost as dazzling in its brilliancy as the sun itself, shoots up, and for a few moments receives the concentrated thought of all the faithful throughout the city as the reminder of the good messenger of the one, the height of whose glory is now perceived. Again, in the evening, there is a convocation at the temple. And remember, these are your ancestors. These are everybody's ancestors. The Atlanteans, like he said, like they said in the first episode of this Atlantis Brotherhood, I believe, or maybe it's not, but that everything stems back. Like Atlantis is so far back, all lineages stem back to Atlantis, all of them. The ceremonies, because Atlantis was America was the first to rise from the depths of the ocean. Come on, God, it all people come from America. The ceremonies of the morning are repeated, with the exception that the song is one of farewell. The multitude facing the west instead of the east, and the hushing sounds of the stringed instruments attend his exit from the western horizon. These ceremonies are continued for 6 days. There are various other ceremonies which take up the time of portions of the convocation between these assemblies of the whole. There are also lines of temple services, work, and study, each of the sciences having its appropriate place, and each being developed by those who are allied in the great brotherhood of the temple. This embraced by the whole people in its ramifications. It is not necessary to describe these in all their minutiae. But during these 6 days, there was continually something taking place in the city, always having its moving force at the temple. The moving of a procession through the streets, a conveying of the temple guides or guards, lectures and talks from those who were so well qualified to give forth from the full fountains to the inner souls, eager to be fed. Now, what does this remind y'all of? When they walking around, who be walking around in circles, y'all? Okay, the move right there said the moving of a procession through the streets. Okay, still to this day we have festivals that are in procession. Still to this day we have religions who are in procession. Okay, these are remnants, y'all. These are remnants of the understanding, the Ouroboros. Okay, the ever-present moment of now. Okay, there is no tomorrow, yesterday. It's all present in today, in the moment of now. It's always now. The hum of conversation dies away as the darkness grows more and more intense. Now, when it shall have become quite dark, the temple choir opens the exercises with the song of invocation. It differs from all the music of the convocation hitherto in key, rhythm, and time. In this, all the people join as the sound vibrates in swelling cadence, rising and falling amongst the echoing mountains. The effect was perfectly indescribable, for the Atlanteans were especially celebrated for being sweet singers. When the singing was finished, the chief instructor of the people stood up a tribune, which concerned them most intimately in the physical life, of whatever they stood most in need, and how the sun was to them life and health, and plenty and peace, the sign and representative of all good. Then he directed their attention to the darkness, which sat so uneasily upon them, enforcing rest and inability to work. Then his peroration was after this fashion. Quote, the darkness is death and dissolution. And thus, in the beginning, the existence saw when he said, let there be, and there was light. At this word, millions of lights gleamed out all over the temple, inside and outside, even on the highest points. It stood forth one blaze of white marble glory. For there was only one thing about electricity the Atlanteans do not know. That is the point where knowledge lays hold the potency upon the one, and its inmost and supreme integrity of existence. There were other ceremonies of minor importance pertaining to the night, but this is the most important. There are no sacrifices, no shedding of the blood of animal or human victims. The Atlanteans do not believe it is necessary to teach destruction or destructive action by such sacrifice in the burning or destroying of any living thing, for they say man is naturally destructive, and we ought to teach him the opposite. So all our ceremonies lack the hideous shadow of agony and horror that will be sure to come if man forgets our teachings. But the great object lessons serve well the purpose in elevating the whole people to the same level and cementing them into common brotherhood. In the next chapter, I will describe, as well as I may, the last great day of the feast. Now, I'm going to leave it there on that one. I am going to leave it there on that one. And the reason I'm going to leave it there on that one is just because, we went through a lot right there. There's more to get through. It's not like I'm rushed on time or anything like that. Um, but this one is really, really cool, y'all. We're reading from the Scribe. We're understanding a little bit more about the Hermetic Brotherhood of Atlantis, the secret society that seems as though it may be a branch off of the Rosicrucians that hold secrets, that hold scribes by Tlana. The aspect that we do have the understanding that the globe that was winged is an Atlantean symbol. Their flag was this symbol on yellow with a blue with a yellow background, and just the aspect that if we look at the Rosicrucian symbols, right? I mean, here we go right here. I got it on my book, y'all. I got a physical copy of it. This is why I be so deep in this. I be having like real copies of like a lot of the stuff I'm not supposed to have. But this right here is the Rosicrucian symbol. Now, of course, they've added on the little pyramid behind the globe and the cross with the rose in the middle and then the sun. But that globe with wings is an Atlantean symbol. Now, this book is Mystic Americanism by R.S. Kleinman, right? But Rosicrucianism was before Freemasonry, y'all. And what was before Rosicrucian? It was the American religion and understanding of all of it. So they just took what was already here in America and applied it once they rediscovered what was going on here due to all of the cataclysms that happened on this landmass. And that's what people are not understanding is like they want to try to place like the Aztecs and the temples and everything that's been found here, you know, hundreds of feet under the ground, 50 feet, hundreds of feet, strata upon strata. You know, we spoke about Louisiana having 4 ancient forests above a skeleton that they found. Okay, so we have to start understanding that the length of time in relation to our country and just our people that have been here is beyond 5, 10, 20,000, 30,000 years. We're talking about several ages, hundreds of thousands of years. And when you understand that and you quit allowing the religion to put you in a place to where you're not understanding that, where you really think 500 years ago, because you have relatives that are Indians upon this land, that y'all are the sacred bloodline or that, you know, that's cool. Keep carry your tradition, bro. But also understand just how far back this land goes. How many waves of people have come and gone due to the ages, the cyclical nature. Understand that Canada was a complete mile under ice. The landmass was a mile under ice just 11,000 years ago. Yeah. I mean, it's like people not trying to understand that California was an island. Like these are simple things that you got to understand. So, you know, when people try to argue with me, you know, about we were here first and all this other stuff, like especially when it comes to like Native Americans, like I have my 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 daughters are Native American, bro. You see what I'm saying? Like my daughters are Native Americans. So what you want to tell me? I speak to the family. We go up to the res all the time. So like, what you want to tell me? You see? So they know that they come from Asia. Okay, at least the ones up here in Washington, they know. They know. So who was here before them? And we not talking about recent. We talking about tens of thousands of years ago. Well, we know that it was Atlantis. Okay, and we're gonna keep revealing that, and we're gonna keep showing that. And I think this scribe from Tlana, which nobody's talking about, everybody want to talk about Thoth and the Emerald Tablets, but now we got a scribe from Tlana. Okay, this is really cool because we get an inside view of understanding just all what they had. They talking about, yo, man, we got flying things all from Thought Force. We've got iron railways. You see what I'm saying? Well, look at all the underground railways. Did we build that? Did they build that? Was that already there? You see what I'm saying? Was that covered over? Right? Because we have so much strata, right? There's a lot to uncover, and we're doing it, all of us together. And so as we continue to do this and we continue to bring about the truth, they ain't going to be able to hide it. I mean, the public school system is losing. They like losing. You know, a lot of people really take college degrees as something to like, they're so happy about, they're so proud of. And it's like, bruh, like, I don't know, between the levels of where I'm at now after my years of study and where Mayo is at in his years of study and where 432 the drop con drop is where he is in his studies, it's like, yo, man, like we got a doctorate. You dig? So I just appreciate all of y'all, man, like and understand that the Aztecs, the Toltecs, the whole central part of America, the mound builders. The mound builders ain't come from no Indians, bruh. The Indians ain't build them mounds, bruh. Let's keep it real, man. Um, this is these are our ancestors, though. Still, okay, but we have to get the proper comprehension. You get what I'm saying? So I love all of y'all. We're gonna go on next. Where we at next in the next chapter? Let me see. We're gonna be in chapter 11. Starts off by saying, that of which I am now to speak concerns the Atlantean nation when there was for it seemingly nothing more beyond inquiry, prosperity, and knowledge. I am warned of the unseen not to write unguardedly, but with circumspection, lest there come power for mischief to the unobligated. So we're going to keep going. I love all of y'all. Peace and blessings, you dig? We're going to keep it going, man. The flow and the knowledge is a blessing. Y'all here for a reason. This stuff here touches your soul for a reason. It's because you are an incarnation. Those who seek this knowledge and have fleeting glimpses of the past, you are an incarnation, yo. My girl tell me all the time, you're just an old soul. You done came back. You did? All right, y'all. Yeah. I love all y'all. Y'all be blessed. Until the next one. Peace.